Hey guys, Nick here, and this is a bit of a less scripted video. You see, at the beginning of this year, I started out on a bit of a passion project to beat 12 Pokemon playthroughs all this year. It was a lot of fun and very stressful at times. I might talk about that in another video. But yeah, the whole goal is to rank them at the end of the year. So, we're going to rank them. Let's get right to it. Starting off, we need to lay down some rules. First things first, I'm going to be ranking them on a 1 out of 10 basis. If there's a tie, I'll favor one over the other or others. Next, ranking is based on video quality, how much I liked the team, how strong the team was, and the enjoyment I had with the playthrough. The team I rank is the team in its finalized state at the end of the playthrough, unless I feel like a different team member should have been at the end. So, let's get started with Pokemon X, but I can only use weak Pokemon. I started this playthrough at I think near the end of December, and nearly finished it, and then took a bit of a break. Until the beginning of January, when I did finish it, and then made a video on it. In this video, my team was Chespin, Squirtle, Boldore, Fletchinder, Butterfree, and Riolu. Now, while this team is amazing, the playthrough was a ton of fun, and I love this team, the video's quality was low. As a matter of fact, it's literally just me killing zombies at a mob spawner while I talk about the playthrough. Not the most well done video I've done, so I have to say this team gets a rank of 5 out of 10, which very much upsets me. But next thing's next, I guess. Pokémon Sword and Shield. This is a playthrough I actually started back last December, so over a year ago, and ended in February. This team was Cinderace, Boltund, Aegislash, Meowstic, Golisopod, and Lucario. And this team consists of 3 of my favorite Pokemon: Lucario, Cinderace, and female Meowstic. Along with Golisopod, who I love, Aegislash, who fits the team very well, and Boltund, who I just really like. As a matter of fact, I love this team. It fits so well with the playthrough that I have to give it a 10 out of 10. That's actually very quick for this kind of video. So, on to the next team. Pokemon Omega Ruby, but I can only use normal type moves. This was a bit more grueling, and I'll get into that in a second. Next up, so first we have Linoone, Slaking, Dodrio, Altaria, Magnezone, and Lopunny. And this team gets an abysmal 4 out of 10. Let me explain. The team itself is weak. It's really weak. Being able to only use normal type moves, it might seem good that I have 4 normal types, but the 4 normal types I'm using are really bad. Dodrio, who, it knows Tri-Attack and was probably the best of all the normal types. Slaking, who was very strong but had Truant, meaning it was pretty much useless. Linoone, who, and Lopunny, who could Mega Evolve and get scrappy, but, Lopunny kind of sucked. I talked about this in my last animated video, but there were so many better things I could have done. And the only reason Lopunny is good in other playthroughs is because it can get other moves besides normal. It's just better. It's just better in those playthroughs. The strongest Pokemon in this playthrough were probably Magnezone and Altaria. Altaria could Mega Evolve and get Pixelate, which turned its moves into fairy moves, yet they'd still be base normal. So, Altaria is probably the strongest of the team. Next is almost forgot to mention, this team also had a pretty bad video. It was the first time I animated a video, so it wasn't that great. And then I hated the playthrough. And this team, I was not attached to any of the members besides Altaria and Linoon. So, yeah, 4 out of 10 was accurate. Anyway, on to what I was about to say, the Isle of Armor. In this playthrough, I used Cinderace, Midnight Lycanroc, Venusaur, uh, oh, come on, why is this happening again? Why is it happening again? Morpeko, Urshifu, and Zamazenta. Now, this is probably the most unique Isle of Armor team ever, consisting of Morpeko, for one. Probably the most unique of the teams I've used this year, having Morpeko, Venusaur, unlike Squirtle, which I would have wanted more, Urshifu, and having the legendary Pokemon Zamazenta as I completed the post-game events to train up my Cubfu. This team gets a 9 out of 10. It was very enjoyable to play through the Isle of Armor. So, next is Pokemon X using only weaker Pokemon. I did the same playthrough as in Pokemon X, but I can only use weak Pokemon, but I lowered the base stat total limit to 300, limiting me quite a bit. However, I still had one of the most enjoyable playthroughs I did this year. Riolu, Bunnelby, Fletchling, Shiny Marill, Inkay, and Shedinja. Now, this team is really cool. Shiny Marill definitely makes up for the crap that Bunnelby was, and I'd have to say this team gets an 8 out of 10. It's really fun, and Riolu was my ace, which was pretty cool, along with Shedinja being so incredibly strong, with Inkay's contrary being good for using superpowers, and having a shiny Marill. I loved this playthrough and this team. I actually found several other shinies this year, and I'll get to that in a bit. Next was my playthrough of the Crown Tundra. This team was Cinderace, Absol, Vanillux, Calyrex Spectrier, Registeel, and Regidraco. This team gets a 5 out of 10. While the video quality was decent, as a matter of fact, some of the only videos I edited this year, it wasn't that fun to play through. Yeah, so Registeel and Regidraco Regidraco especially didn't get that much of a spotlight. Registeel, yeah, it was good, but this team has 3 legendaries on it, and it had such wasted potential for battles. The only battles I really did in this playthrough were against Morimoto and Peony, along with Calyrex. So, yeah, it wasn't a fun playthrough by a long shot. I just didn't enjoy it. Anyway, next up is my Pokemon Legends Arceus series. In this series, I used Hisuian Typhlosion, Gallade, Lucario, Crobat, Kleavor, and Umbreon. Now, I want to talk about each member of this team, starting with Gallade and Crobat. These two I actually had never used on a playthrough of Pokemon before. Don't know why, I like them both a lot, and it was so fun to use them. Then, Lucario and Umbreon are some of my favorite Pokemon, and Kleavor and Hisuian Typhlosion were really cool. They were so cool, guys. These two did amazing as well in the playthrough. So, this team, along with the fact that this playthrough was very fun, this team gets a good 10 out of 10. I used this team throughout the post-game and got really attached. But now, on to my first Pride playthrough. Well, not Pride as in, gay pride and stuff. I mean Pride as in, me. Pokemon BDSP, but I'm Team Aura. In Team Aura is my evil team, who's not actually that evil. Anyway, Team Aura in Sinnoh used Infernape, Firefighter the Infernape, Ren the Lucario, Toxin the Toxicroak, Al the Azelf, Knowledge the Uxie, and Dave the Mesprit. This team gets 10 out of 10. I grew attached to each member of this team at the very end. And catching the Lake Guardians actually was a lot of fun. Besides Dave the Mesprit, he can go burn forever in, the bad place. Anyway, moving on. Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I'm a Steel-type gym leader. In this playthrough, I turned into a Steel-type gym leader in Galar. I used Crystal the Alolan Sandslash, Kit the Bisharp, Maggie the Magnezone, Luquette the Lucario, Robo the Metagross, Airship the Corviknight, Iron the Aggron, Tenderizer the Duraludon. This team gets a good 7 out of 10. I loved every aspect of this playthrough, from making this really cool Minecraft skin, the names of the Pokemon being fire, and also using 8 Pokemon against the League. As a matter of fact, Luquette and Robo actually ended up sitting out in the final battle, which was a pretty tough call, but I kinda needed everybody else. Iron the Aggron was a superior Pokemon compared to a lot of the team members. It was cool to use Metagross along with Pokemon being obtained throughout every method, using the Crown Tundra, Isle of Armor, the Wild Area, and collecting the Diglets. It was so fun! And then using the Max Soup to make it so that Corviknight and Tenderizer could Gigantamax. This was generally a fun playthrough, and I don't regret doing it. It was so fun. Anyway, next up is Pokemon Ultra Sun while only using Dark types. In this playthrough, I could only use Dark types. I used Incineroar, Bisharp, Tyranitar, Greninja, Drapion, and Guzzlord. Now, this team is really cool. It's the best animated video I made this year. While the last 3 series were streamed, this one was a straight-up animated video. And I had a lot of fun with it. Using every team member, coming up with Pokedex lore, it was a lot of fun. So this team gets a good 8 out of 10. I really loved it, especially because of the fact that it has some of my favorite Pokemon on it, along with some real powerhouses. The only thing dragging it down from a 10 out of 10 is Guzzlord. It wasn't that good. I should have just stuck with Honchkrow, honestly. But let bygones be bygones and move on. Next is Pokemon Legends Arceus, but I'm Team Aura, where I played through Hisui as Team Aura. Again. My starter was a Hisuian Decidueye. Hisuian Braviary was a Pokemon I got near the end. Sneasler was a Pokemon that I wanted to use. Oh yeah, the names. I forgot the names. Besides Poison Point Sneasler. Return the Gardevoir, I remember that. Luke the Riolu. And Sapphire the Infernape. Oh, Hootie the Hisuian Decidueye. Oh, man. And Psywing the Hisuian Braviary. Man, I couldn't remember that name. I'm sorry about that. But this team overall gets a good 9 out of 10. The names are just straight up fire. And I loved becoming Team Aura again. However, Hisui is weird with its rules, so yeah. Also, Riolu couldn't evolve into Lucario in time, and that upset me greatly. Next, though, is the final playthrough I did this year, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. In this playthrough, I used Quaquaval, Talonflame, Lycanroc, Midday form, Lucario, Moshhold, and Grimmsnarl. This team gets a good 8 out of 10. You see, this team was really cool. I loved using Talonflame, and I got to use Lucario. Along with the fact that I got to use Grimmsnarl in a playthrough, which is a Pokemon that I recently loved. I learned the power of Moshhold, and I had my starter Quaquaval. This playthrough was just a ton of fun. And I don't regret playing through Scarlet and Violet, no matter what the reviews were, and no matter how laggy it was. But now, onto some other Pokemon I used. The final team to fight Ryan, let's start with. This team was Cinderace, Lucario, Calyrex Spectrier, Zamazenta, Rapid Strike Urshifu, and Female Meowstic. This team managed to defeat Ryan, and they're amazing. They managed to defeat the rival I gained throughout the playthrough. So this was just generally fun, along with the fact that it was a good conclusion to a long series. Next, some Pokemon I used right up until the end of a playthrough. Breloom from Normal Types was there for almost the entire playthrough until I replaced it with Lopunny, and I should have done so many other things. Shatter the Alakazam, the first time I ever used an Alakazam. Sunsteel the Bronzong, and what did I name? I forgot what I named the Girafarig. However, these team members got replaced at the very end of the playthrough by the Lake Guardians. Next is Honchkrow, who was replaced literally at the Elite Four, right at the end of the playthrough, by Guzzlord, because I thought it would be better and it was not. And then Weird Ear, I almost used on my next Team Aura video. And you know what's funny? I just noticed this. Almost all these Pokemon are Team Aura Pokemon. Like, they'd be usable with Team Aura. Besides Honchkrow, like, they'd all be usable by Team Aura. That's pretty fun. Anyway, now for the shiny Pokemon I caught. I caught the shiny Floatzel in the X playthrough while grinding up for the Elite Four. I caught this shiny Marill, which I actually ended up using in the playthrough. And I caught Shiny Delibird in the same playthrough. All three, the last two being caught in weaker Pokemon. I also caught 3 shiny Quagsire, and I encountered a shiny Drapion, but I didn't catch that one, because I suck. However, I caught a lot of shinies this year, most of which were found while looking for Guzzlord, but doesn't matter. Next, Pokemon I used more than once. I used 3 Riolus, apparently. I used several Lucario, multiple Infernape, multiple Bisharp. I used more than 1 Magnezone, apparently, and I used 2 Lycanroc, both of which were in different forms. So now, I want to also just talk about some general fun stuff. I ended up apparently using Fletchling, Fletchinder, and Talonflame all on final teams this year. Full evolutionary line, right there. Next, I ended up using 3 Riolu, as I said, one being way stronger than the others. And then I used both forms of Lycanroc, which I found to be generally fun. Next, strongest Pokemon of the year goes to Cinderace. Seriously, hard carried every single part of the Sword and Shield playthrough. Beating multiple legendaries, Mustard's single strike Urshifu, and just generally being amazing. Once again, I used it in 3 different playthroughs, came in clutch in O-Code multiple Pokemon, including a Gen 8 Zacian, and it was just super powerful. It O-Code a Shadow Rider Calyrex, and I actually had a lot of trouble because it was so strong, but whatever, that's fine. It was the strongest Pokemon of the year, by far. Now, time to rank the teams. At number 12, we have 4 out of 10 being the normal type moves play through. Yeah, I don't need to explain that. Next, tied for 5 out of 10, we have Crown Tundra and Weak Pokemon. I put Weak Pokemon higher because this team actually was used. Next, for the one and only 7 out of 10, I put Steel-type Playthrough, because who didn't like this? I really loved this team. For number 8, 7, and 6, it was a 3-way tie, and I put Dark-type at the very lowest, Scarlet and Violet in the middle, and due to a shiny Marill once again, and just general fun times I had with this playthrough, I had to say this was the best one this year. Out of the 8 out of 10s. Next for the 9 out of 10s. We have Team Aura and Hisui lowest. Favored less than Isle of Armor, just because the team was a little more unique. Sure, the Riolu on this team made it unique, but it didn't make it more powerful. So I put Isle of Armor at number 4. Now for the 10 out of 10s, Legends Arceus is number 3, which really surprised me. So that left 2 playthroughs, Team Aura and Sword and Shield. Which one was ranked higher? I had to put Team Aura just a little lower. I don't know why. It just didn't feel right to have such a great team not at number 1. But Team Aura was favored over Hisui, my first ever playthrough of Legends Arceus. Don't know why. It was just fun. And then for my number 1 spot, just a vanilla playthrough. The one where I just played through Pokemon Sword and Shield. It was so fun, I had to put it at number 1, especially because of the fact that I have 4 of my favorite Pokemon, a Pokemon that fits really well, and a Pokemon I just generally like. I didn't think there were any weak points to this team either. As a matter of fact, Lucario ended up beating Ryan. So that's why it ended up at number 1. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and all the videos I did on Pokemon this year. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this video with everyone you know and love. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed all the Pokemon content this year. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye!